My name is Ray Star, and I'm the author of the Earthlings trilogy that came available last month. So there were lots of inspirations for the Earthlings trilogy. Unfortunately, I lost my dad to pancreatic cancer in 2017, and that was kind of a real wake-up call for me. Anyone else that's lost someone that they love will probably understand. Your whole life just kind of changes. The things that you thought were important just weren't, and you kind of change your whole life from there. Really, you kind of get the meaning of life from someone dying, which doesn't make much sense, but is kind of what happens. I've always wanted to be a writer since I was little, and the actual idea behind Earthlings, when my dad was diagnosed with cancer, one of the first things that he did, he was given a set time period to live, was he asked the doctors, what can I do to prolong my chances? What can I do to live longer other than going down the chemo route? And the first thing all the doctors said to him straight away was just, you need to change your lifestyle habits. So stress levels need to come down, which is a big one for all of us in today's society. And another big one was to stop eating meat and dairy. That was just such a huge alarm bell for us because, we were bacon sandwich in the morning, fry up for lunch and cottage pie for dinner kind of family, so it was just, why are we being told, or why was he being told not to eat those things when he'd already been diagnosed, if by not eating those things in the first place, maybe he might not have gotten cancer, So I went veggie with him, and after going veggie, everything's got cheese on it. And I actually put loads of weight on. Going veggie didn't work for me. And then I kind of just stumbled across veganism. And then that was when the idea of Earthlings kind of came to be. When I cut out meat and dairy and all the rest of it, you realise how certain foods are made. And even though when you're eating chicken, you're aware that it's a chicken, you just don't actually think how the chicken came to be there and all the little bits behind it. It was just, it was a real eye-opener for me. And I wanted to kind of raise awareness, but in a non-preachy, judgmental way. And so the idea for Earthlings was speciesism as it is today, but kind of reversed. So rather than humans being at the top of the food chain, what would life be like if we were at the bottom? But again, I didn't want it to be preachy. I didn't want it to be a sad, morbid story or anything like that. I wanted it to be an exciting story, and that to be like just a narrative that runs through it, if that makes sense. So the actual story itself is of a young girl named Peridot. She's raised away from the realities of the world, so she has no idea that everything's upside down in the Earthlings world. She's raised by a very overprotective mother who doesn't let her leave the little island that they live on. And then one day this young boy Ewan comes along, and he's sprouting what she believes to be madness about happenings on the mainland. She doesn't believe him, she thinks he's crazy, but they form a really tight bond. They become really good friends. And then one day he's gone. So as quick as he came into her life, he's gone, and she wants to go and find him. Mum's being a mum won't let her go, and so she does what normal typical teenagers do and rebels and goes anyway. And then when she's on the mainland, she kind of finally understands why she shouldn't have been there in the first place, and everything is upside down and inside out, and a little bit scary. But unbeknown to her, she was magic born, so she's got gifts, and a lot of Peri's story is finding her gifts. And I guess the kind of moral to the book is humanity worth saving? Should she stay and help those that need saving, or would the world be better off if they were just kind of left as things were, sort of thing? But hopefully people are like me, think humanity is worth saving. And that is the story of the Earthlings world. Yeah, so I'm quite eco-aware in that the Earthlings does have a certain message behind it, and I can't have a book with a certain message behind it and then cut down a load of trees in the process. That's just so hypocritical, not something that I wanted to do. So Earthlings is printed on recycled paper where possible, but unfortunately the only distributor that we couldn't get recycled paper printing through was Amazon, which surprised me, because obviously with the name you think trees and That's the opposite. So to compensate for any Amazon sales, I decided to plant a tree per book that we sell. So for every copy of Earthlings sold, not just the Amazon sales or sales in general, it's just something that I kind of wanted to do. I will be planting a tree. So when I get my sales report every quarter, I find out how many that I sold. I log on to a fantastic company called Ecology, and I buy hopefully a lot of trees. Before launch date, we was at 1,101. We hadn't even launched. That's fantastic. And I won't know until I get my next sales report how big the peridot forest is, but hopefully more than 1,102. We shall see. Climate Fiction Writers League was something that I wasn't aware of until after my novel was published last month. They reached out, and it's a body of traditionally published writers trying to raise awareness of the environmental crisis that unfortunately we are in, and it's pretty scary, it's pretty grim. There's a lot of changes that desperately need to be made, or we're going to be in a lot of trouble. And it's just a body of writers trying to raise awareness through that, through writings of fiction. There's some fantastic authors with some really amazing books out there, especially if you want to get young ones interested in nature and the environment, and little adjustments that we can make to our lifestyle to kind of make the world a greener, more colourful place again. That's a great way to go about it without being too scary or morbid, because it is scary when you get talking about it. And reading fictional works is a great way to get your mind kind of ticking and thinking, but without it being quite as intense as it is. So Climate Fiction Writers League, it's a really good organisation. Check it out. That's a fantastic question. I've actually sent copies of Earthlings to everyone that I want to play in the movie, which is the dream, because obviously a picture says 1,000 words. And whilst the book does have a particular message behind it, a lot of people could just read Earthlings, not get the message, and get wrapped up in the magical side of it, which is fine too. That's great. I want people to enjoy the story. But if it was made into a movie, it would be hard to ignore certain points. I would love Ricky Gervais to play Alan, the tyrant who is set on enslaving humanity. He would make a fantastic Alan. I would love Joaquin Phoenix to be a character in the book called Lucky. His wife, Rooney Mara, or partner, I'm not sure if they're married, to be the mother in the story, Valertha. And I can't find anyone for the two main characters, Peridot and Ewan. So there's actually a chat that I had with my publisher. We'd have to hold castings for that, because I'm not sure. But yeah, fingers crossed. One day we'll see. Oh, that's another fantastic question. So my message would be, it's actually a quote from the book. Phoenix says it in chapter 12. So from the tiny ant to the human or elephant, we are all Earthlings. That's the quote. But the message behind the quote is that this world was meant for all of us, and humans, we've just taken it all, and unfortunately the result of that is everything we're seeing now, from wildfires to the crazy weather changes to the flooding, and it's only going to get worse. This isn't going to get better unless we change. And every individual is capable of making changes that will make a huge difference to the world we live in. You might not think it's a huge difference at the time, but anything from eating less meat and dairy to changing to a green energy provider. If you're going somewhere and you don't really need to take the car and you can walk, do that. Walk, get a bicycle. There's endless things. Recycle. One of the biggest things that we can do to really help is to use what's already out there. We have this awful habit of just buying stuff that we don't need, and all those things we buy that we don't need come in plastic packaging. Half of it can't be recycled. So get yourself a marketplace or eBay and just whatever it is that you want, see if there's a second-hand version. You'll save lots of money. It will be next to new when you get it, and we've not just cut down a load of stuff for it to be made. So all these little things, if we all did, would make such a huge difference. So let's all buckle in, get ourselves together and turn this round. Let's make this world green and colourful again.